What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay, and this is the Jay Sinky channel for all of the people who have not been to the channel before. I want to fill you guys in on something real quick before we get to this Talkin Tackle, because if you haven't already figured it out, this is another Talkin Tackle. It's coming the holidays, guys. I'm pretty sure I'm going to still try to shoot you out some videos here and there as far as with the holidays coming and all that fun stuff, because I've still been able to go out fishing and I'm still able to get out there even in the cold weather and stuff like that. But come the new year, come January 3rd, which is actually my mother's birthday, happy birthday, early birthday, Mom. My girlfriend Rachel, she is getting some surgery done on her elbow and on her wrist, and she's got, basically what's going on is when she was 11, she shattered her elbow. Long story short, it shattered, it didn't heal right, and now her funny bone nerve is not so funny when she hits it. It's tragic. It makes, everything quiver in her body. It's not good. So they're going in, they're looking at the nerve, and it may end up having to be moved from here and moved all the way up here and put under submuscular. So there's going to be some recovery time with that. I'm going to probably be taking some time off from editing and from fishing and, from just off altogether. My main focus is going to be on taking care of her. I hope everybody can understand that, but I'm giving everybody an update. I know I said at one point I'm going to be doing giveaways. I'm also pushing those a little further out. We're going to have them in the new year, just because a lot has happened over the last couple weeks as far as figuring out when this whole surgery thing was going to happen. But anyway, let's move on. Let's get into it. And like I said, guys, this is Talkin Tackle. So over on Instagram, I actually had a poll, that's what it was, between which one we were going to be talking about next. And in today's Talkin Tackle, guys, the tackle that we're going to be talking about is the NED Rig. Before we get into the video too deep, let me tell you about today's sponsor, Mystery Tackle Box. Guys, get your new year started out right and go get you a subscription to Mystery Tackle Box. It's the best way to get fun, innovative new lures sent to your house every month. So what are you waiting for? Go try it out now. By the way, if you use my code JSINKY, you can get your first box for as low as $10. Alright, so what is a NED Rig? A NED Rig is essentially this, right here. See the weight, you see the hook, and you see the bait, right? That is one of the best kind of NED Rig profiles you can get right there. A smaller profile, you're going finesse. But before we get into all the nitty gritty about the actual rig, let me break down the gear for you like I always like to do. I personally am a bait caster user most of the time, but when it comes to the NED Rig, I personally agree with everybody around that a spinning combo and a spinning setup is the way to go. You need to use something around, I've seen a lot of guys that are going about 6'8", 6'9". I wouldn't go any past 7 foot, probably is the juicy spot. I have seen people use 7'1", 7'2", but I've heard around 6, 6'9", that 7 foot range is probably your sweet spot. You want a medium light rod, okay? The NED Rig is a finesse style. So when you think of a NED Rig, you're thinking finesse. So you need something that's going to be light and sensitive, and you want something that's going to, be sensitive. So you're going to be able to feel everything. So you want a medium light. This is a medium light 7 foot rod. It's the Hypersense by Jinko. 7 foot medium light, and it's got a fast action tip. Now that fast action, I can't even do this. I'm not long enough for this. Super good action tip there, okay? Let's not just bust everything up. When it comes to the actual reel itself, a size 3000 is probably good. The reason why is because it's just a good overall, size. It's not too big of a profile. It's not too small of a profile. It'll hold enough line on there. That's what you want. It's a sweet spot. Now, am I saying you can't get away with it smaller? Am I saying you can't get away with it bigger? No, but I like to tell you guys the sweet spots, what's to be really looking for. Now, when it comes to the line that you want to be using, the most popular is going to be braid to fluoro leader and get away with as light a line as you can. Most commonly, like the most common braid size, I'm really not certain. You know, there was a lot of different numbers getting thrown around there. Me personally, I'm going to be putting on 12-pound braid is what I have. I also have some 20-pound braid, but I've been kind of deciding between the two. I think I'm going to stick with the Super Finesse, and I'm going to go with my 12-pound braid, and I'm going to link that up with an 8-pound fluorocarbon. And as far as the knot there that you want to use for your leader knot, the Alberto knot is the most popular knot that is used for a leader knot. The reason why you want to use fluoro as your leader is because fluoro sinks, first off, and the Ned Rig is something you do go to the bottom with and you play on the bottom of wherever your fishing is. But also because it is the most invisible underwater. And the Ned Rig is finesse. It is a slow style of fishing. So therefore, that line's just going to be sitting right there where that weight is. And if you put something out there that's of a brighter color or thicker line even, the bass just may not go to it because they'll be able to see the line. They're not, you know, they are not the smartest, but, you know, they're not the dumbest either, especially on pressured waters. So fluorocarbon is definitely the way to go. Get away with as light a line you can because the smaller the diameter, the better off, the less they'll be able to see it. It's just how it's going to work out. The further you can get it out there, it's just overall better. Think about your situations as far as where you're fishing and when it comes to the pound of line that you're going to be using. 10-pound is about as heavy as most people will use, and that's when you're trying to fish in thicker cover and things like that. But, you know, there's other people out there who are using, you know, 4 to 6 pounds. Me personally, I'm going to be right there in that 6 to 8 pound range. That's where I'm going to be thinking my sweet spot is. That's just a personal opinion. But as far as most popular line range, you're looking as don't go any higher than 10 pounds, and, you know, you can probably get away with 4 pounds too. That's pretty light, but most popular range right in between. Alright guys, so let's get down to the nitty gritty of the actual Ned Rig. So the Ned Rig. I think it's a great time to be showing for the Ned Rig and telling you guys about the Ned Rig because it's a finesse style. And right now with the colder water temperatures coming in and the colder weather in general coming in, it's time to slow down, size down, and really just accept the fact that it's hard to get anything on a huge moving bite right now. Ned Rig is perfect for that, and that's why we're going to talk about it. So, we talked about it, guys. The Ned Rig is essentially this right here. This is just a little setup that I had right, you know, ready and willing and just chilling. And on there is a rattle and Ned. It actually does not have the rattle in there right now. I can't, you know, you're not going to hear anything because there's nothing in there. I took the rattle out because it gives it a floating, it gives it more float while it's under, well, I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes it float more like this underwater. And essentially that's kind of what you want more than anything, is you want that floating action when it's just under there not doing anything. It's a very dead action, very still, and just patient rig. That is one of the biggest things about the Ned Rig that people run into is do not overwork your Ned Rig. Throw it out there and leave it out there. It's cold, and I know a lot of the times that causes us to get a lot more impatient because, you know, we're not getting bites. We just think that something's wrong, so we bring it in. Leave it out there. That's all I ask. Slow down a little bit, leave your Ned Rig out there, and something has a better chance of happening with you leaving it out there rather than overworking it and bringing it in. The most popular weight ranges when it comes to the Ned Rig itself are going to be as low, I'm going to make sure I explain this properly, as low as 1/10 of an ounce and as heavy as, yeah, that's right, as heavy as 1/4 ounce. So 1/4 ounce being the heaviest that you're really messing with over here, and then, you know, as little as as light as 1/10 of an ounce. Get away with as light of an ounce as you can. That's the secret behind Ned Rigs. Light line, light weight. Now, if you got a windier day and you have to throw it and you want it to get out there, you need a heavier weight, that's when you want to use your heavier weights. Again, I'm not saying you can't get away with even heavier than 1/4 ounce, but that's where a lot of people mess up. Hear me when I say that. A lot of people mess up by using heavier Ned Rigs than necessary. It just completely kind of is what's the word I'm looking for? Oh man, I can't think of the word. It just kind of totally disrupts the whole point of the finesse rig of the Ned rig itself. It's not supposed to fall that heavy. It's not supposed to have too much action. It's a finesse rig. It's dead action. It's supposed to be light line, lightweight. So get away with as light of a weight as you can when it comes to the Ned rig. So let's talk about how to rig it on the hook of a Ned rig. And I say it as in the plastic. How do we rig the plastic on a Ned rig? I'm going to tell you guys right now, this is not a weedless setup initially. Like the way it initially comes is just like this. Just a hook. And you have that exposure right here when that plastic is on there. There is a way to set this up weedless. And I do want to say there are Ned rigs that have EWG hooks that are set on there instead of a regular shank hook. And the reason being, a lot of guys don't like that is because there isn't as much grip, that you don't get as good of a hookup ratio with an EWG versus just the open hook here. And with it being a finesse and with it being, you know, a slower bite and a more subtle bite that man, I can't speak. A more subtle bite that you may not even feel. You want the hook that is going to give you the better hookup ratio. So for all you beginners out there, the way that you actually hook it up on there, eyeball it. Look on there. You're just gonna slide it up straight on there. Okay. So line it up. See where it lines up. See where this hook ends in the plastic. Get an eyeball for it. If you can't, you know, mark it with something. If you have to rip off a little bit of the plastic, sometimes people will sit there and just take a little bit, like do this. You know, make a little mark on there so they see where it goes in. Take your bait. I was actually just making sure I was getting it the right way. So you take your bait, put it on there, and just literally slide it on there. And bring it around. And eventually you get a feel for it. You make sure, I like to always make sure they're on there the right way. Sorry guys, anybody who doesn't know, I wear contacts and mine are being a little dry right now for some reason. I don't know if y'all hear it behind me, but there's a little heater. And I wonder if it's just hitting my contact wrong. But anyway, sorry, talking too much about other things. Bring it around, slide it in there. And essentially what you want it to do is sit on that hook as straight as you can. And ideally, so here's a little hack, okay, for all you beginners. Sometimes you'd rather get a little too much than too little when it comes to a Ned rig, because if you have too much, you can tug right here on the hook and it'll kind of, you don't want that if you can avoid it, because ripping the plastic isn't ideal for the plastic in the long term as far as how long you're going to use it. But you rip it there, you can get more of a straight look and it won't be all bunched up right here. Another hack that most anglers use is when you slide it on there, right before you do, in the little gap before. Let me see if I can get it up there close enough for you guys. Before you actually slide it all the way up there, in that little spot, and on the neck of the actual hook, put some super glue on there. And apparently gel is the more popular one to do because, you know, the liquid stuff, you know, will get all over your fingers and you don't want that. The gel sticks on there better. Keeps it on there, keeps plastic on there longer, makes it more durable, makes it last longer for you. Hopefully get through more fish that way too. When it comes to setting the hook of the Ned rig, you don't want a hard hook set. That's just it. You know, when you get out there and you have those power fishermen that are out there and you're doing all that and they're used to, you know, setting that hook hard. You don't want to do that with a Ned rig. That can, on the contrary, actually make you lose a lot of fish because it's a finesse. And then the hooks themselves typically are not the strongest. They're sharp though. The idea is to, like I said, it's a slower bite and a finesse style. So the bite's going to be slower and it's going to be way more subtle. So you're not even going to feel it. So ideally what it is you don't really want a hook set. You want to kind of go with it and bring it in. I know that sounds crazy, but if you try to set that hook really hard, you are more likely going to lose that fish than to land it. Alright, so this is going to be my favorite part of this video. I've done some research, like I always do with the Ned, with all of the videos that I do, with all of the rigs and all of the tackle that we talk about. And with the NED Rig, this is what I really found interesting about the history of the NED Rig. So they did studies as far as, underwater studies and underwater footage of what the bass react to. Okay, so they sent down something that looked like, where'd you go? I literally just had you because, right here. So they had something under the water that looked like this. Okay. Most standard, maybe a little different, a crawl plastic, okay? So they sent this under the water and they wanted to see how the bass reacted to it. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was a study on X amount of fish, right? And after that, they saw how many fish reacted to this plastic right here. Not specifically this one, but a plastic that looked like this one here, right? After that, they did this. Okay? And sent something that looked like this under the water. And what this essentially is imitating is a crawdad that has lost his claws. And the crawl part, the claws. Okay? More fish reacted to this than they did to a crawl with the flanges. Okay? Then they did one last thing. They did this. Oh, I didn't get all that leg off. But you get the point. They sent this under there. More bass, even more bass, ate this than the one without the legs and the one without the flanges. That, right there. And what is that? It's a NED Rig. It's literally what you throw on a NED Rig. It's a piece of plastic. It's just a little chunk. I don't know what it is, but they reacted the most to the bare minimum of the plastic with all the flanges and all the legs off of it. And that's a NED Rig for you. That's why the bass go nuts for it. So you can't say that it doesn't. It's literally scientifically proven that the bass will react to the NED Rig. When it comes to the plastics that you throw on a NED Rig, you're throwing something that's probably 2 to 4 inches at the most. You don't really throw anything over 4 inches. Matter of fact, a lot of anglers will not throw 4 inches because their theory is if they're eating something that has that much action and is that big, then they can get away with another style, another rig, something else that they would rather throw other than the NED Rig. It's under the radar, pretty badass. The most popular plastic that's actually used for the NED Rig is one that I actually don't own at the moment, and it is the Z-Man TRD. It's like specifically made for the NED Rig, and I don't actually have any, sorry guys, but I do have plenty of NED Rig plastics, and we're gonna go through them as far as what I like to use out on the water. I'm going to, here in the future soon, I'm going to actually purchase that NED. They have a whole little kit that Z-Man sells. And I think, especially if you go over to shopcarls.com and you are a Carl's member, you actually get it for like 16 bucks, which is a great deal because normally it's closer to like 20 bucks. So I feel like, saving you $5 plus you get free shipping right to your house, can't really beat it. But I'm going to get that whole little kit, I think, because it looks pretty cool. It's going to be able to make me expand my horizon when it comes to the NED Rig and, give me a few new baits that I can try out. The ones that I really like, of course, is the rattle and Ned. Like I told you guys, this one does not have the rattle in it, and that's because I want it to be I want it to float more, be more buoyant. Buoyant, is that the right word? I want it to float more under the water. I want it to stand up, straight under the water. This one right here that I just tore up for you guys a second ago, this one right here is probably something I might try. I might, go through the stages itself and see if I can kind of repeat what happens. Do I get less bites with all the flanges on there? Do I get more bites with it just looking like, I don't know, a bug of it almost reminds me of a tube without the legs, but like it's not hollow or anything. some more other popular ones that are here that I have. Like I said, guys, the more popular sizes are between 2 and 4 inches. It doesn't mean you can't get away with anything bigger, but like it's not really recommended. And no matter, the longer that they get, the weirder it looks on the hook, because with a Ned rig, you don't want to use too big a hook. That's one of those big mistakes that people make, is don't use too big of a hook. Use a smaller hook. I know a lot of people are like, yeah, but those hooks kind of suck and they bend out. I know, it's a finesse style. That's the point. But you don't want to overdo it. You want a small profile. So that's the whole idea behind it. Get away with the smaller profile. You get away with the smaller hook, lighter weight, lighter line, finesse. Sakoshi bugs. These right here are one of my favorite finesse soft plastics for the Ned rig, for the drop shot, just overall one of my favorite. Even for those little tightrope, those little baby jigs, I love putting these as a trailer. These are just an overall one of my favorite finesse style plastics. I will tell you, these are like those Z-Man. All the videos that I watched when they mentioned the Z-Man, they talked about how don't mix those plastics with any other plastics, because of the elastic and the strength that's in that plastic itself, the Elastec. If you mix it with other plastics, it creates a really bad reaction and they all melt and it becomes this gooey, just blob of gross. These do that too. I'm not sure if people have learned that yet. I have. By experience. I found them in a couple of boxes when I just because when I'm out and fishing or whatever and I'm trying to tie something else on, I'll just take it and I'll throw it in my little box that I have with me and I'll clean it up later. Well, later came and this was in all kinds of a just jumbled up mess with other plastics. And it's because they have a very similar plastic when it comes to the stretch itself. It's called Stretch X plastic. They are very durable. They will go through a bunch of fish, and I love this. These are one of my favorites, for sure. A tip that I really want to let everybody know about is, if you're really trying to be on a budget, or if you are on a budget and you're trying to save some money and you're like, okay, I don't feel like spending all my money on a rig I don't know if I'm going to like or not, here's a little tip. This right here is just the, bud end of a worm that I had. It's a couple inches. What does it look like? Looks like a Ned rig, So think about it like that. There's, if you have a good old stick bait or a worm, some sort of trick worm or something like that, and you busted out the front of it or something like that, or you're on a budget and you just want to use the rig, take the couple inches off of one of those, off the tail end, use the tail end, and use it. Most of the time, I know that a lot of the lunker logs, the one downfall here is that a lot of the stick baits, like the lunker log, they're heavier under the water. So, with the Ned rig, you want it to stand up and float. That's the whole point, is you kind of want it to stand straight up like that, right? So when you're using something like the tail end of a worm, depending on the worm that you're using, it could be heavier. This one right here isn't like that. I'm not sure, I'm trying to remember which worm this was. It was some sort of finesse worm that I was just like, I actually used it as a Ned rig, and I think it's because I didn't have any in my bag at the time, and it was like one of those things that I was like, all right, I'm going to throw a Ned rig. So I just tore off the end of it, and this one ended up working out really well. It stood up just right. But sometimes on those stick baits, the tail end of it will just kind of bend a little bit, but it's really not that big of a deal. It doesn't affect the action that much for it to make that much of a difference when it comes to the bite. And if you're trying to save a few bucks, it's definitely worth it. The colors that you're going to want to be throwing, guys, think about your water conditions and pretty much try to keep it natural. The green pumpkin spectrum is always a good one. Watermelon is always a good one. If you're talking about murkier waters, talk about your black and red, your black and blues, your midnight colors, your June bugs. Think about your water conditions and think about your weather conditions. Are you having a sunny day? Is it sunny? Is it bluebird skies? Are you having overcast? Those are going to be the same kind of basics that apply when it comes to other plastics like the Texas rig and situations. Think about your water clarity, that's going to depend on your plastic color. There are other colors out there that a lot of people use on the drop shot and on the NED Rig, like the Morning Dawn color. I've gotten away with that color before in ponds, and it does work. You know, you just got to know the situation on when it's best to throw those. I can't tell you, like, as far as the best situation for a Morning Dawn. It just depends. It's one of those colors that when I throw it out, I'm just kind of throwing a Hail Mary to see if it works, because nothing else did, so why not? And what's funny is that when I have done that in the past, majority of the time it actually works. It's kind of interesting how that has worked for me in the past. I'll throw a darker color, I'll throw a natural color, and then I'll get, like, I don't know, and I'll throw my morning dawn color. It's in that drag and drop, Guggen baits, drag and drop. They have a morning dawn color, and I don't know, something about it, the fish love it. So, but overall, natural colors, stick to it. You can't go wrong. Okay, so we've gone over the gear, we've gone over the actual NED Rig, we've gone over the plastics. So let's go on and talk about how to actually cast and throw a NED Rig. Now, I mentioned in the video, guys, this is a finesse style. You need to be patient when you throw it out there, right? So the way you want to cast it out there is you want to make a long cast, as long as you can. I know with spinning combos, you don't always get as far as you want. That's why I say get away with the light line, lightweight. You might be able to get a further cast too. Throw it out there as far as you can. Now, the secret here is you want to throw it out and you want the NED Rig to fall with slack line, okay? Now, you don't immediately want it to hit the water, close your bail, and then let it fall, because once that happens, what this is gonna do, okay, if you do it on slack line, it ends up just kind of twirling around and going down to the bottom like this, and that's what you want. Stands up on end, just like that. That's what you want. That's ideal. If you throw it out there and you instantly close your bail and it kind of has this at an angle fall, okay, it falls more like this, and it might lay down there flat, you know, that's not what you want. You want it to fall directly down, spiral down, go past that little part where the bass might just be chilling, and just sit just like that. Be patient with it, guys. You think you're overworking it? You probably are. You think you're taking too long? You're probably not. Wait longer. Be patient. I know it's tough to be out there right now, especially when it's cold. It's tough to just stand out there and keep freezing. The more you move, the warmer you get, but you want to get bit. That's the whole point of going out to get in fishing to begin with. So think about what you're doing. If you're throwing a finesse style rig, take your time. The bass are slowing down. The water temperature is going to make everything for them, you know, whether or not, you know, if it's warmer, then their blood's going to be pumping more. If it's colder, they're slowing down. No, they do not hibernate, but they do slow down. Their blood flow is much slower, I guess, in the sense. I wonder, who was it? Somebody said that. I can't remember one of the videos I was watching. They're like, I wonder if they've proven that it actually makes their blood flow slower. Now, I can't remember which video that was, but that just tells you how many videos I've been watching. It's too many. But they are slower right now, so they are less likely to eat. And when they are slower, they don't need the same amount of food to keep energized as they do in the summertime. And one day in the summertime, they could eat 7 times to stay, you know, energized for that whole day. But in the wintertime, it literally can get cut down where they eat once every 7 days instead. Slow down, relax, throw it out there, let it sit out there. It's dead action. Don't put too much action on it. If it's down there, you know, you want to do a couple little hops, that's it. Reel in your slack and let it sit. Alright guys, I'm going to leave you there. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sitting here trying to make sure I did go over everything again, because this time I'm not trying to make it a 45-minute long video like my Texas rig one. So, I hope I covered all the basics. If I didn't, let me know in the comments below. I would be happy to hear it. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know what you didn't like. Let me know what you want to know more of. Give me a comment, drop it, let me know what you want to see next time. I'm probably going to do another poll over on Instagram. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But you guys know how it goes. If we are out there fishing, we are out there catching, and we are out there really trying to learn a bunch of new things before the new year. No complaints. Do you see that? That says I've been running for 10 minutes. You want to know what that means? That's how much I talk with my hands. Auto recording. It says I've been running for almost 11 minutes. I move my hands way too much apparently.